In a recently published New York Times article, Brad Pitt opened up about his personal struggles with alcoholism, as well as his time spent in Alcoholics Anonymous. In 2016, the actor split from his longtime wife, Angelina Jolie. The two were involved in a 12-year relationship and parented 6 children together. News of their split sent shockwaves through the nation, as almost everyone had come to consider the two stars one of the most solid and iconic couples in Hollywood. As it turns out, the divorce, instigated by Angelina, was more a result of Brad's ongoing struggles with alcoholism than anything else. Many news outlets reported that the final straw between the couple was an intense argument they had while on a private jet. While this very well may have been the case, it seems as though there was a bit more to the story. Brad Pitt began his acting career in 1987 in the television series 21 Jump Street. Since his career began, he has been in innumerable major motion pictures and even landed himself an Academy Award for production. There certainly is a stigma in the entertainment industry as far as drug addiction and alcoholism go. Many stars, of all ages and professional backgrounds, have grappled with substance dependency. The pressure of constantly being in the spotlight becomes too overwhelming, and celebrities turn to drugs and alcohol as a method of self-medication. Although he did not confirm how long his personal struggles with alcoholism lasted, he attributed Alcoholics Anonymous to help him get back on the right track, and ultimately commit to a life of sobriety. In his interview with the New York Times, Pitt stated that AA was a safe space where there was little judgment, and therefore little judgment of yourself. He discussed some of the more dark times he had been through recently, and the impact AA had on his self-discovery. "The fact is, we all carry pain, grief, and loss," he said. "We spend most of our time hiding it, but it's there, it's in you. So you open up those boxes." He further noted, "It was actually really freeing just to expose the ugly sides of yourself. There's great value in that." Since entering himself into Alcoholics Anonymous in 2016, and remaining actively immersed in the program for a year and a half, it seems as though Pitt has turned over a new leaf. He recently appeared in box office hit Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and is working hard to continue making reparations with his ex-wife and children. Angelina Jolie has decried the lack of action by governments to support survivors of wartime rape as deeply painful and frustrating. The actor and UN Special Envoy for Refugees, who launched the Preventing Sexual Violence and Conflict Initiative (SVI) with the then Foreign Secretary William Hague in 2012, said there had not been nearly enough progress on bringing perpetrators to justice, prioritizing survivors' needs, or ending impunity. Writing in The Guardian today, she said, "There has been some progress, but it has not been nearly enough to meet the needs of survivors, or to deter perpetrators from using rape as a weapon of war in almost every new conflict in the past decade. Despite the commitments governments made, we have not seen significant, lasting action at the global level. This is deeply painful and frustrating." As the British government marks the 10th anniversary of SVI with a conference in London, Jolie said, "We meet and discuss these horrors and agree that they should never be allowed to happen again. We promise to draw and to hold that line. But when it comes to hard choices about how to implement these promises, we run into the same problems time and again. We run into some Security Council members abusing their veto power, such as in the case of Syria. We run into economic and political interests being put first, treating some conflicts as more important than others. And we run into a lack of political will, meaning that governments in recent years have downgraded the importance of efforts to combat war-zone sexual violence, despite the direct link to international peace and security. Ministers and representatives from 70 countries are expected to attend the two-day SV summit, which begins on Monday. They will be joined by survivors of violence and Nobel laureates Nadia Murad and Denis Mukwege. Tariq Ahmad, the UK Prime Minister's special representative for SV, said the conference will drive new action, secure new commitments, including funding, and discuss how to strengthen the global response to these crimes and how to address some of the real root causes, including gender discrimination. The UK government announced on Monday £12.5 million of new funding over 3 years to tackle violence. Most of the money will be used to support survivors. The Foreign Secretary, James Cleverly, said, "The very threat of rape and sexual violence as a weapon of war should bring immediate international condemnation and swift action to stop those attacks before they start. So today, we stand in solidarity to support survivors and to bring justice, but also to send an unequivocal message to those who order, allow or perpetrate sexual violence. We will not tolerate it and we will push for perpetrators to be prosecuted." Butnam Kowali, the chief executive of the Five Foundation, an organization working for women and girls around the world, said pledging money was not enough. "It is not enough that we see renewed commitments," she said. "It has been proven they are not sufficient or reliable. The Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office needs to embed change at its core and update its own systemic priorities by putting the principles of gender equality at the heart of its aid and diplomacy policies." Ali added that money must be given to local women's organizations. Unless international aid and foreign diplomacy strategies include unshakable and specific financial commitments for women and girls at grassroots level in countries where the specific instances of violence are happening we will be back here again in 10 years' time, she said. Advertisement. Ava Tabassum, the director of Gender Action for Peace and Security, said the £12.5 million was a drop in the ocean compared to the amount of money that has been cut from gender equality programming. Last year saw a £3 billion reduction in the overseas aid budget, with further cuts estimated in the next few years. An analysis of UK aid between 2019 and 2022 showed the cuts had a significant detrimental impact on women and girls' lives. Yasmin Sukha, the chair of the UN Commission on Human Rights in South Sudan, said the war in Ukraine meant that the organizations that survivors of sexual violence depend on in South Sudan and other countries had seen their funds cut in recent years. The international community needs to stop these violations in South Sudan, but in the absence of peace at least we should be able to patch up the victims, she said. The SV summit held in London in 2014 attended by 1,700 politicians, celebrities, and survivors was criticized for costing more than 5 times the 2015 UK budget for tackling rape in war zones. In 2020, a damning report by the aid watchdog said SV had not fully delivered on its ambitions and is at risk of letting survivors down.